People, and welcome back to Tia Things, the YouTube channel where we talk about all things books with a little side of wedding planning. So today we are back on the book grind. I have a book to share with you guys that is giving me all the feels. I already predict that this will be the best book of 2023. I'm telling you right now, you need to place your order immediately for the Grace Year. First of all, let's just take a moment for how beautiful that cover is. Seriously, Kim Liggett, you have my soul. When I tell you that this book shattered me, that's funny because it's a reference to the Shatter Me series, but for real, since Verity, I think this is the first book that has me like thinking about it non-stop in the weeks that follow me reading it. It is a amazing fantasy story, sci-fi fiction. I'm not sure if it's sci-fi, but definitely fiction fantasy. Dystopian society. It has a little Hunger Games Divergent vibes in there, which if you know me, you know I love. So for me, this was the first really like win in the fantasy for a long time. I haven't really read much other than romance in a long time, and so this really hit the mark for me. I love it. And I'm gonna go in on all spoilers. So if you're not a spoiler person, you don't wanna know all the spoilers, I'm gonna need you to skip ahead. But if you wanna know, we are right here. We are live and we are rolling. So start off first with some context. Basically, the Grace Year follows a main character named Tierney. I hope I'm saying her name correctly. Tierney, she is one of many sisters. And in this society, women are the lesser sex. They say that clearly multiple times. That is how they are seen. That is how they are treated. That is how they are expected to be. They are the lesser. They are controlled by the men, and they are just basically bred to breed. You know what I'm saying? Not a concept we haven't seen before, and not too far from reality in many ways. Basically, the book alludes to the Grace Year and to the fact that Tierney is going to her Grace Year, but you don't really get more details on what actually the Grace Year is or entails until you actually go alongside her, which I loved that concept. It left mystery, it left a lot of unknowns, and then you get to kind of go through it for the first time with her because even she doesn't know. It's very hush-hush in society. You know it's something that includes a lot of trials and this and that, but she doesn't actually know the details. No one speaks of it openly. Essentially, full context, when the girls turn 16, they are either veiled or not, which means their fathers come out with a veil. If that means they place it on their head. If the fathers come out with a veil, it means they're basically engaged. A man has like chosen them. And if the fathers come out with no veil, it means they are not veiled and they will not marry when they come back from their Grace Year. So basically her goal is to not be veiled. She is a bit of a tomboy, a bit of a rebel. She runs off in the forest. She doesn't follow society's rules for women. And she really does not care to be married. It's actually like her worst nightmare. She prefers to be left alone so she can go work on a farm somewhere and just be not a part of the society. When the veiling time comes, she actually gets a veil and she's so shocked. They kind of speculate in the book who the veil is from, but you actually come to find out that it is one of her best friends, or her only friend actually, Michael, who veiled her. They would meet up like in secret in the forest and just talk about life and her dreams, which are forbidden. But so they had like this really special bond and relationship as friends. She is pissed. Okay, she sees this as the ultimate betrayal. I think as the reader, you immediately understand that he thinks he's saving her, right? From anyone else taking her or from her being exiled. But she's pissed because she feels like he should have known more than anyone that this is like her worst nightmare and she does not want to be veiled. So basically they see each other for like 5 minutes and then she has to leave with the other girls for the Grace Year. So they are led by guards down this weird path and way, and they have to take boats and all these things, and some girls already are just harming themselves or taking their own lives, and basically it's a lot. So you know that this is going downhill fast. It's not a good thing. They're brought into this area, they're gated in, and basically it's like a year of survival. And they hint a lot to magic. You don't really get all the details, but finally, let me just put all the context together. And a little spoiler. what the society sends them away for, this grace year, they're sent to this place because it's said that women get magic in their 16th year, some kind of magic, whether it be communicating with animals, fire control, brain control, I don't know. They're all kind of just thrown out there. And you're sent away to this difficult year where you get no help from society. You all need to like survive basically in the wilderness, but you're gated in. And by the end of the year, your magic is gone, so you can come back to society and join as a bride. Let's be real, it's very obvious that the whole goal of this year is for them to like break the girls, so that when they come back, they're just like a little helpless wife. You do also hear here and there about poachers and this and that. So come to find out, the poachers are after the girls and essentially get like money and reward and paid for, my understanding is their skin, their like literally their meat, let's call it that. So that's kind of some context. The girls are trying to survive. They find a well with water. One girl immediately becomes like the alpha, telling everybody what to do, saying that she already has her magic. So they all kind of follow her blindly, of course, except Tierney, who has never followed anyone blindly, let alone followed at all. And so it's really a lot of tension within the group. They're all kind of turning on each other. A lot of difficulty there. And this whole magic concept is really weird. Like the alpha girl says she has her magic, but you don't really know. It's all very mystical and unknown. Essentially what happens is throughout many confrontations, because again, Tierney, they all think she thinks she's like too good for them. That's not the case. She's just not interested in being like a mindless drone, basically. But they all basically hate her, call her names, give her a really hard time, and she's very strong, but you can only be so strong. So eventually she actually leaves the gate, right, which is like the safety from the poachers, and goes into the wilderness. I think they actually exile her, like I could be wrong, there's a few back and forths here when you follow with me. So she leaves the first time, I believe willingly. She just like can't be a part of this and leaves. Or she's like wandering the forest, I think, and when she tries to come back, basically they don't let her, they harm her, etc. They hurt her. She's injured. She's going off into the forest. She's trying to survive. She's doing pretty well given her situation. She's very, very badly hurt. And eventually, I'm gonna skip over some items because I do want there to be some fun when you're reading the book, but eventually she wakes up and basically a poacher has taken her into his home, like a treehouse of sorts, and is taking care of her wound. She got really, really badly injured, like I said, so he's caring for her. She's in and out of consciousness for a while, and finally she wakes up and realizes what's happening, realizes, she thinks initially he's trying to kill her, but realizes pretty quickly he's not. He takes care of her, etc., etc. They form an attachment. His name is Riker, the love of this book, and he takes care of her. They obviously fall for each other, but what happens is his best friend, who's also a poacher, finds out eventually. Riker tells them his plan that he and Tierney are going to run away and live basically in the wilderness on their own, away from both the society and the poachers. Now, during her time with Riker, she also finds out the truth about society and the Gracier and this magic and all of that. So she's very kind of like caught up in, do I go back and tell them the truth so that they can save themselves? Or do I stay here with Riker and we run off and kind of do our own thing? She wants to go back, but he tells her how like it doesn't matter how many times you shout it from the rooftops, you're not going to change anything. Society is aware of all these things and they're choosing to send the girls. The girls, unfortunately, are obviously unaware because they've been obviously just controlled. So she has a bit of an internal debate, but decides to stay with Riker. Then Riker's friend, who's a poacher, basically threatens to harm him if she does stay and run away with him. So in order to save him, she goes back to the girls in the gated community. It's not like a gated, like safe community. It's just like a gate keeping them from the poachers, but they're all like killing each other inside the gate. So mind games. Think of like Hunger Games vibe when I say gated community. They're like in an arena of sorts. Gated community is in they just can't leave that gate or they'll be killed by poachers. So she goes back to the girls. convinces them that she's found her magic, and so that's how they kind of let her back in, although she's been gone for weeks. And through her convincing them that she's found her magic, they start to listen to her. She gets them good food, better water to drink, because they were just drinking something that was making them all hallucinate, which is why they were all turning on each other. And she starts to like get a garden going and really like supporting and sustaining these girls so that they can make it back for the rest of their lives, right? So whoever doesn't make it back, the rest of their families, from what I understand, get punished. Their sisters, who are going to come to the grace year after them, and whoever does make it back kind of goes on with their lives, and their families are not punished. So the goal is to make it back, obviously, but there are like punishments if you don't for your family. There's a lot that goes on, and essentially poachers come back. The girls find out that Tierney is no longer pure. Right, they have ribbons in their hair to show whether their magic has come in or not. She starts to show something else, you know what I'm talking about? So the girls like obviously call her every name in the book and tell her she's not clean and they can't bring her back. And basically she realizes like, what is she doing? Like, even if she helps these girls, when she goes back home, they're gonna kill her because she's with a child now. A huge spoiler, okay? Which is obviously Riker's. So she decides, what am I doing? I can never go back there now that I've had a life with him, and we should run away, he and I. And like, she basically comes into her own decision about it, which I think initially I was very annoyed that she went back and forth so many times. But now looking back over it, I think that's the whole point, is that in the end of the day, she got to make the decision herself, and the decision was not made for her by Riker. Like every other decision in her life was made for her by society or her father or whatever it may be. So she goes back to Riker. They make a plan, they run away. His best friend betrays, okay? Again, huge spoiler, guys. I'm just going all in. I'm going so far in. His best friend betrays, and the other poachers come after them basically to kill her, because that's their whole goal, right? They get life, they get money for their families back home if they kill these girls. And so they're trying to kill her. He obviously tries to defend her. And then, I don't know if you guys can hear that dog barking, but anyways. And then my heart breaks. The world is shattered. Are you ready for this? The poachers kill Riker while he's trying to fight to defend her. So she runs. His last words he's able to tell her is to run. She runs back again to this like camp where the girls are. And again, like, it's her magic and this and that. So she stays there. She develops this garden and this clean drinking water and all these things. She continues to grow and develop. And when they leave, basically she and one of the girls who she becomes friends with decide to leave hints for the girls of next year as to where the garden is and what water to drink and not drink, and like tools to help them. So they're laying like a path for them. They're not giving them the answers necessarily, I feel like, but they're also like giving them the tools to survive. And so she goes back to society, and right, she's supposed to marry Michael at this point, but she is obviously very pregnant. She is showing. So they are about to kill her, as you do to the horse. That's what they call them in the book. It's not me. And essentially, Michael saves her life by saying that her magic, her power, was that they were able to be together in their dreams, and that it's his child. He lay with her every night. And yes, it sounds wild, but the society is so like fathomed by the magic. Michael's dad is actually a very high, powerful man. So through all this, Michael's able to convince people that the baby is his, even though they physically have not been together. He says that they have. She teleported to his bed and in their dreams and this and that. And so he saves her and the baby. They go on with their lives very awkwardly. Obviously, he's upset, she's upset. They kind of don't speak for a little bit until they finally do. And what I love is that they kind of rekindle their friendship. And I believe the words that she says are, she realizes that she can have love for Michael without betraying Riker. And they grow to be much more than she ever expected. So that to me seems like they do develop a relationship. They do say that they get into like a normal where they walk around the village and they go get their fruits at the markets and this and that and go to the Sunday whatever, and kind of like a normal life. And the book ends with her giving birth to her daughter, who she names Grace Riker Melch, I believe is how you say it, Michael's last name. So it's Grace Riker and Michael's last name. So essentially it ends with the baby being born, and she realizes that her daughter is gonna be the one to change everything, because she's seen her in her dreams. And this is where the big plot twist happens. And I'm so excited to hear what you guys have to say about this, because the book ends with her saying, and then she sees Riker coming out of the shadows and coming straight for her. And so you think, okay, she's like hallucinating, right? She just gave birth. It wasn't a good birth experience. She just is seeing things. But then she says that she's also back in the forest with him and he's coming straight for her. And I believe one of the lines is, I'm back here, or did I never leave? So that gets your gears turning. A, did she die? And this whole thing is like not real? Like, did she die in the forest when they killed Riker? Did they actually kill her too? B, did she come back, give birth, and now is dead or died because of the birthing, and now Riker is there to like be in heaven and they go together, whatever? Or C, is she back in the village, gave birth, and is just hallucinating? Who knows? So like, you know, the book ends and you don't actually know if she ever left the forest or not, if she's back home or not, if she actually gave birth or not. Like, you don't actually know these things. Like, she can be in the middle of the forest dying and this is all happening like as a hallucination. Who knows? So the book ends that way, kind of leaving it up to the reader to decide. I do think that she did give birth and all of this is real, and that she's hallucinating Riker, or Riker didn't die because she ran right after she thought she saw him die. And now he's back for her, also an option. So all this to say, amazing book. Kim Liggett. I'm gonna need a book 2 immediately. I understand if you don't make a sequel though. I have to say, it's one of those books that might be better left alone, but I'm just dying to know like what's real and what's not at this point. So you guys, I highly recommend you read this. I think this is gonna be my top book of 2023. I rated it 20 on 10, which I haven't done ever. I highly recommend The Grace Year by Kim Liggett. Get to it. Even if you listen to every spoiler I said, nothing compares to reading the book. Like, even if you know exactly what's coming, read the book. And I don't even know if I explained it properly. Sometimes I'm too into it. I don't even know if I said it right. So please get The Grace Year right now. And you know, she names her daughter Grace. Now you know why. Guys, always a pleasure sharing my book loves with you guys. I will be back soon with another video. And until then, have a wonderful, wonderful day.